Space Marines Part 6. Space Marine Chapters. First founding. The Space Marines were originally divided into 20 large legions created during the first founding by the Emperor, and each legion was filled with thousands of Space Marines whose gene seed was based on genetic material drawn from one of the original Primarchs. When 18 of the 20 original Primarchs were rediscovered during the Great Crusade, they became the leaders of the legion genetically related to them. During the Horus Heresy, half of the legions turned traitor to the Imperium and swore themselves to the Ruinous Powers of Chaos, becoming the 9 Traitor Legions of Chaos Space Marines. Loyalist Chapters. Those Astar-tees Legions that remained loyal to the Emperor during the Horus Heresy were known as the Loyalists. They were subsequently each split up into smaller chapters of only 1,000 Space Marines each during the so-called Second Founding, one of which retained the name of the original Space Marine Legion. Dark Angels, Primarch Lionel Johnson, Homeworld Caliban. The Dark Angels refer to themselves and the successor chapters as the Unforgiven. The first 2 companies are elite forces known as the Death Wing and the Raven Wing. Although unknown to most of the Imperium, including the majority of the chapter, some of the Dark Angels turned to the service of Chaos during the Horus Heresy. These individuals are known as the Fallen Angels, and the Dark Angels and the Unforgiven have vowed never to rest until all of the Fallen have repented or been killed in the Emperor's name. White Scars, Primarch Jagatai Khan, Homeworld Mundus Planus. The White Scars have a Mongol-based nomadic barbarian culture and prefer fast attack operational doctrines. They are also known for being specialists in the use of bike squads on the battlefield, using them as mechanical steeds. Space Wolves, Primarch Lemon Rust, Homeworld Fenris. This particular chapter is known for following its own path and being highly unorthodox in organization and tactics, often contrary to the Codex Astar-tees. They are feral in appearance and often adorned with wolf pelts and wolf tooth necklaces. They are one of the few Space Marine chapters who do not follow any of the rules for chapter organization set out in the Codex. Imperial Fists, Primarch Rogaldorn, Homeworld Imperial Fists. This chapter is renowned for being the greatest siege specialists in the Imperium of Man. They also are engaged in a bitter and ancient feud with the corrupted Chaos Space Marines of the Iron Warriors Traitor Legion, who were once considered the greatest creators of static defenses in the galaxy. Blood Angels, Primarch Sanguinius, Homeworld Baal. The Blood Angels suffer from the Black Rage and the Red Thirst. Those that succumb to the Black Rage and the Red Thirst are put into the specially created Death Company as the crazed battle brother sees only the last moments of his Primarch Sanguinius's death at the hands of Horus and enters a killing frenzy during which he will literally drink the blood of his foes. The Blood Angels prefer the usage of jump packs and close combat. Iron Hands, Primarch Ferris Manus, Homeworld Medusa. The Iron Hands are devotees of the cult of the machine of the Adeptus Mechanicus. There is an unusually high incidence of voluntary cybernetic modifications to the bodies of Iron Hands Astar-tees as a result of the devotion to the Omnissiah. All neophytes of the chapter have their left hand removed and replaced with a cybernetic model. Ultramarines, Primarch Robert Gilliman, Homeworld Macragge. The Ultramarines chapter is known as the model for all Space Marines due to their exemplary discipline and loyalty to the Emperor of Mankind. As the largest legion at the time of the Second Founding, they produced the largest number of Second Founding chapters. This chapter's elite first company was wiped out by the Tyranids during the legendary battle for Macragge of the First Tyrannic War. It has taken a century to fully reconstitute that company. Salamanders, Primarch Vulcan, Homeworld Nocturne. The Salamanders are a technically adept chapter with a preference for short-ranged combat, heat-based weaponry like melter guns, and energized warhammers. They are unusually devoted to the welfare of the civilian population of the Imperium because of their own close connections to the people of their homeworld of Nocturne. Raven Guard, Primarch Corax, Homeworld Deliverance. The Raven Guard specializes in hit-and-run assaults, and they prefer the use of jump packs and lightning claws. They most commonly deploy into battle from orbit using drop pods. Traitor Legions. These Space Marine legions sided with Horus in the forces of Chaos during the Horus Heresy. After their defeat in the Battle of Terra, the Traitor Legions fled into the Eye of Terror and became the primary forces of the Chaos Space Marines. Emperor's Children, Primarch Fulgrim, Homeworld Chemos. The members of this Traitor Legion are the greatest devotees of Slanesh, the Chaos god of hedonism and dark pleasure. They once sought absolute perfection in every action and appearance, now they fight only to feel the pleasure wrought by suffering and death. Iron Warriors, Primarch Perturabo, Homeworld Olympia. The Iron Warriors are the dark counterpart to the Imperial Fists chapter. Like the Fists, they are specialists in siege and trench warfare and can build truly elaborate iron static defenses. They have an ancient rivalry with the Imperial Fists and all of the successor chapters going back to the time before the Horus Heresy. Night Lords, Primarch Conrad Kurz, also known as Night Haunter, Homeworld Nostromo. The Night Lords specialize in the exercise of terror tactics and carrying out atrocities against military and especially civilian personnel that are intended to spread fear in their enemies. World Eaters, Primarch Angron, Homeworld Nuceria. The World Eaters devolved into mindless, bloodthirsty fanatics dedicated to the Blood God in the centuries after the Horus Heresy. Today they are the chosen ones of Khorne, the Chaos God of violence and murder. They live only to slaughter other living things and shed more blood for the Blood God. Death Guard, Primarch Mortarion, Homeworld Barbarous. The Death Guard, often better known today as the Plague Marines, are the horrifically diseased and plague-ridden devotees of Nurgle, the Chaos God of disease and decay. They use disease and chaos-infused toxins and chemical weapons in their attacks. Thousand Sons, Primarch Magnus the Red, Homeworld Prospero. The Thousand Sons are devoted to Tzeentch, the Chaos God of arcane knowledge and change for its own sake. They are the most adept among the Chaos Space Marines at wielding the dark powers of the warp and have a large number of Chaos Sorcerers among their ranks. As a result of the ancient curse known as the Rubric of Ironman, the remaining Thousand Sons Chaos Space Marines have no organic bodies, the souls have been fused directly into the suits of power armor, and almost every member of the Legion has at least some psychic ability. Lunar Wolves, Primarch Horus, Homeworld Sithonia. The Lunar Wolves were once the premier of the Legioness Astar-tees, the best of the best among the Emperor's Space Marines. Renamed the Sons of Horus after the Emperor honored the Primarch by making him the Imperium's War Master and Supreme Commander of the Great Crusade after the Emperor returned to Terra following the Eleanor Crusade. After Horus' death, the Sons of Horus became known as the Black Legion. Word-bearers, Primarch Lorgai, Homeworld Cultus. The Word-bearers are the only Traitor Legion to still field chaplains, who are called Dark Apostles instead and serve as priests of the Ruinous Powers rather than as exemplars of the Emperor's truth. The Word-bearers are highly religious in their mindset and believe deeply in the faith and purpose of the Chaos Gods. Alpha Legion, Primarch Alfreus Omegon, Homeworld Unknown. Strategic subtlety and the employment of covert operations are this Legion's specialty. The Alpha Legion adopted the Hydra as the symbol to indicate that there are many ways to accomplish an objective and that if you defeat one of their initiatives there are always others hiding in the shadows. This Traitor Legion may actually still be serving what it believes is the Emperor's will by remaining among the forces of chaos. Its true motivations remain unclear. The Traitor Legion's homeworlds were later destroyed in a purge by Imperial forces to eliminate all traces of chaos corruption in the Imperium following the Horus Heresy, with the exception of the Alpha Legion's homeworld, which was never discovered. The Unknown Legions. There are two missing legions, the 2nd and 11th Legions, who, for unknown reasons, were deliberately expunged from all known Imperial records and archives before the onset of the Horus Heresy in the early 31st millennium. Referred to as the Forgotten and the Purged, it is known only that the missing Primarchs and their legions are listed as having been deleted from Imperial records. This formal censure and erasure from official records is known as an Edict of Obliteration, also called a damnatio memoriae, a High Gothic phrase meaning condemnation of memory. This is the official imperial policy of deliberately destroying any records, icons or other symbols or monuments pertaining to an individual or organization, usually of the imperial elite, who have been declared excommunicate traitorous by the Emperor of Mankind himself. In a galaxy-spanning empire that stressed fealty and loyalty to the Emperor in return for advancement, acclaim and spiritual salvation for its elite, this is perhaps one of the most severe punishments. The complete and utter erasure of all records of the 2nd and 11th Legions is considered by Imperial historians as the most successful edict of obliteration ever carried out in Imperial history. Given the current authoritarian nature of the Imperium, it seems likely these legions were completely removed from all historical records for being participants in or affected by some sort of catastrophe such as a mass mutation event which couldn't be controlled. Turning to the worship of the Chaos Gods earlier than the other Traitor Legions. Second and later foundings. After the Horus Heresy, it was determined that the Space Marine Legions were too powerful and dangerous to the stability of the Imperium to be controlled by any one man. In what is known as the Second Founding, the remaining Loyalist Legions were broken up into the separate 1,000-man chapters which remain the primary organization of the Adeptus Astar-tees to this day. In the 24 subsequent successor foundings that have occurred since the Second Founding, the Imperium has created many new chapters of Space Marines, using gene seeds sampled by the Adeptus Mechanicus from the existing ones. Many of these successor chapters still keep the memory of their progenitor legion or chapter alive in their rituals and regalia and maintain the same methods of operation and battle, as well as their overall defining cultural and genetic traits. For a list of all the known Space Marine chapters, please see the list of Space Marine chapters. Chapter Relics. The sacred artifacts of the Adeptus Astar-tees are items of incredible rarity. The following relics have belonged to different Space Marine chapters across the galaxy at different times. Each chapter will possess only one of the following relics at a time, for they are unique items, the only one of the kind in all the galaxy. The Burning Blade. This ancient broadsword is so large and dense that only a Space Marine could lift it, let alone wield it in battle. It was recovered from the wreckage of Horus' battle barge, the only unblemished artifact in a chamber crawling with the filthy taint of chaos. Some artificers have posited that it was wielded by the Emperor himself and that it is the master of mankind's greatness that shines out from its sacred steel. That the blade has a mighty origin is beyond doubt. In the heat of battle, the sword blazes so brightly that it can melt even the ceramite armor of the battle brother who wields it. Nonetheless, the sacred artifact still sees regular use. Even mortal danger cannot stay the wrath of the Space Marines for long, and the damage its wielder can wreak on the foe is beyond compare. The Armor Indomitus is an ancient suit of artificer armor forged long before the Horus Heresy. Those masters of the forge who have completed a pilgrimage in order to study it firsthand maintain that this battle plate has provided the blueprint for each model of power armor since its inception during the Unification Wars, and that its inbuilt machine spirit, artificial intelligence, is so complex that it must be blessed every morning and every evening to ensure the suit maintains peak performance. Unlike the plasteel and ceramite of modern power armor, the armor Indomitus is made from layered plates of raw adamantium, making it extremely heavy but all but unbreachable by conventional weaponry. In the face of even heavier fire, it also incorporates a shimmering force field, the secrets of which have long been lost to modern artificers. The shield eternal is believed to have been a gift from Rogel Dawn to his seneschal during the dark days of the Horus Heresy. This magnificently worked storm shield is a bulwark against which all the wrath of a hateful galaxy can crash. Its warding powers turn aside the maleficent attentions of the witch and the demon, safeguarding its wearer from mortal blows and perfidious warpcraft alike. The Primarchs' wrath. The ancient bolter known as the Primarchs' wrath is believed to have come from the personal weapons collection of Robert Guilliman and has dispensed thunderous death to the foes of mankind for millennia. Chased in Theldrite moon silver and inscribed in microscopic lettering with every treatise on tactics that Guilliman ever penned, this weapon's quality is such that it allows its wielder to sweep away great swathes of the enemy with a storm of lethal fragmenting bolts. Teeth of Terror. The origins of the Teeth of Terror lie shrouded in mystery. Mentions of this large, obsidian-toothed chainsword can be found dotted throughout the histories of many Space Marine chapters, yet the weapon itself can be traced to no artisan's hand, nor be found in any chapter's armory, save in times of the greatest need. What is certain is that, when wielded in battle by a true hero of the Imperium, the Teeth of Terror strikes with the force of a thunderbolt. The more formidable the odds its wielder faces, the louder the blade's engines growl in its hunger to lay low the foes of mankind. Standard of the Emperor Ascendant, woven from threads of spun adamantium in the early days of the Unification of Terror, this banner was carried at the head of the Emperor's personal guard. It is said that its constant proximity to the Master of Mankind has imbued within it indelible traces of his incredibly potent psychic signature. Whatever the truth of this, its presence is a constant inspiration to those loyal to the Emperor's cause, instilling within them vigor, valor and determination even as the foes quail in its presence. Honors and badges. The Purity Seal is not so much an honor as a blessing given by the chapter's chaplains. Before a campaign, the chaplains pass through the ranks chanting litanies and invocations. Honored individuals are marked by the chaplains for special blessings recorded on the parchment streamers and affixed to their armor with the Great Wax Seal, which are often replaced with a more permanent electrum casting of the seal after the battle. Marksman's Honor. This device is the Marksman's Honor. Acts of remarkably accurate shooting or consistent performance with targeting of Astar-tees weapons are honored with this award. The Codex Astar-tees insists that those warriors who prove their accuracy in combat should be singled out so that the skill may be instantly commanded when necessary. The badges themselves are believed to have been constructed by taking gold bolter cases, fired in battle from the bolt gun of Robert Guilliman himself, and encasing them in the award. Imperial Laurel. Deeds of valor leading to a great victory for the Imperium are awarded with the Imperial Laurel. A battle brother who bears this honor has literally earned his laurels. The wreath is often worn as a crown or sculpted into the ceramite of an Astar-tees' helmet. The wreathed skull is also a common form of the same honor. The Codex Astar-tees demands that company and chapter standards be borne into battle only by Astar-tees who have been awarded the Imperial Laurel. Iron Halo. The simple badge called the Iron Halo has its origins in the earliest days of the Imperium. Often painted onto an Astar-tees armor as a red badge, the Iron Halo is the award granted for an exceptional battlefield leader and strategist. This award is given to those battle brothers who demonstrate exceptional initiative. It is displayed on the shoulder armor or behind the helmet of the Astar-tees who has earned it as a mark of rank. Iron Skull, a traditional badge of ancient origin. The Iron Skull is awarded for the display of exceptional leadership in combat. It is the Codex Astar-tees required insignia for a Space Marine Sergeant and is often displayed on the shoulder armor or helmet of an Astar-tees of this rank. The classical convention is to represent the Iron Skull as a red heraldic device. The Imperialis was originally the campaign badge used by the Loyalist Space Marine Legions during the Horus Heresy. Over time it has evolved into the Honor of Righteous Victory, and is awarded to any Space Marine who has participated in an honored victory for his chapter. Instead of being presented as a medal or badge, it is most commonly carved into the deserving Space Marine's chestplate, replacing the armor's standard Imperial Aquila symbol if the Astar-tees is wearing Mark 6 or Mark 7 pattern power armor. It can also be seen engraved on the weapons of Astar-tees who have earned the badge, and also in banners or atop their heraldry finials. It is intended to represent both the Imperium of man as a whole with the wings of the Aquila and the Emperor's sacrifice for humanity at the end of the Horus Heresy, which is embodied by the skull icon. Skull and motto. In addition to the specific badge of the Iron Skull, there are many other icons and emblems which incorporate the skull, a common imperial motif intended to represent the sacrifice made by the Emperor for humanity's sake during the Horus Heresy. As honors, these decorations often have a multitude of uses and meanings. Often combined with simple mottos, the skull honor can be seen on shoulder plates, helmets, knee pads and even on bolter cases or vehicles. The prime helix is the emblem of the apothecaries of a chapter. The bright red design represents both the gene seed itself and, to some extent, the sacrifice every Space Marine is prepared to make to ensure the chapter's future. The Machina Opus is the mark of a tech priest adept. It is awarded to each tech marine as he completes his mysterious training with the Adeptus Mechanicus on Mars. Bearers of the Machina Opus are accorded great respect by the tech priests and they alone are allowed free passage through the Red Planet's Ring of Iron and into the great workshops of the Martian Hive. Crux Terminatis. This is one of the most famous of all Space Marine icons. Only the honored 1st Company veterans of a Space Marine chapter fight in suits of Terminator armor and wear this badge. The symbol has various forms and designs, but all versions are carved from great chunks of stone. Within each badge is bound an infinitesimal fragment of the suit of power armor worn by the Emperor during his climatic battle with the arch-traitor Horus over 10 millennia ago high above Terra. Sergeants and captains bear modified versions of the design to signify their rank and authority. Smaller representations of the crux are frequently worn by the veterans when they fight in standard power armor to display their elite status. These small, metallic icons can be hung from banner tops, weapons, and belts. Service studs are small metallic rivets that are attached directly to an Astar-tees cranium to record his years of service to his chapter. A single stud records 10, 50 or 100 years of service depending on its design and the chapter traditions. The awarding of service studs is described in the Codex Astar-tees but is not set out as an official requirement or regulation of the chapter. In recent centuries the awarding of service studs has been on the decline and fewer chapters continue the practice. Tattoos are not official chapter honors but traditional markings derived from the chapter's ancient practices. Some tattoos may even be vestiges of pre-Space Marine tribal markings or house city gang affiliations. Space Marines are recruited from hundreds of different human cultures across the galaxy, so it is no surprise to see this diversity reflected in some Astar-tees retaining the tattoos, scarification or warpaint of their homeworld. Army Campaign Badges. Space Marines often find themselves going into battle alongside other Imperial forces. The massed ranks of the Imperial Guard form the major portion of any Allied contingent of Imperial forces and include huge tank divisions as well as enormous numbers of foot soldiers. When an army of the Imperium goes to war, it is standard practice for the Imperial commander or general to choose a symbol to act as a campaign badge in accordance with the regulations set down in the Codex Astar-tees. This field sign is known as the Army Badge and serves to identify all the troops and equipment that are operating under a single command for a single campaign and helps with recognition of friendly units on the field of battle. The Army Badge is painted on Space Marine power armor and Imperial Guard vehicles alike. Each time a Space Marine applies the badge, the recipient receives a blessing from the company chaplain or from an attached member of the Imperial Ecclesiarchy if serving alongside one of the other Imperial armed forces. The Army Badge is deliberately designed to be quite straightforward and is an instantly recognizable symbol that functions as a battlefield identification. Space Marines generally apply the Army Badge to their right leg greave. The Army Badge is generally used for the duration of a single campaign and is removed or replaced at the successful conclusion of the campaign. If a squad, regiment or indeed an individual warrior has performed exceptionally in the campaign, the Army Badge may be incorporated onto their armor, uniform or heraldry as a permanent honor. This is particularly true of banners and standards, and many of the lavish designs seen on chapter, company and individual Astar-tees banners are, in part, derived from the army badges of previous campaigns.